All right, thank you for staying with us. And this morning we are looking at governance and the rule of law, especially democracy, which allows people's contribution to things. Actually, it is about the government for the people, by the people. And these are the issues in which everybody has a right, everybody has an opinion. As they say, the minority will have their say, the majority, we have the day. And so is it the same way in Nigeria? And we've seen it over the years that sometimes when some people in government at all levels, either at the national level or at the state levels, when they are there, at least, let's say, either being a president or be a governor, sometimes they are not too open to criticism, in which democracy offers the leeway for everybody to do, especially constructively, within the confines of the law. And everybody who offers a contrary opinion or try to critique or analyze the policy or policies of government and is not favorable or is not looking fancy to them enough or patronizing, then sometimes the government comes hard, war of words, put them as opposition, even if they are not. And is this what we are having? Some persons are beginning to wonder if actually the government of the day, at the center, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's led government, is averse, to criticism and quality opposition, actually, or opposition of any kind, either from the parties, political parties, or civil society organizations, or individual. The moment you get to criticize, the handlers of the government, even if not the president himself, because he rarely does that, but his handlers who possibly see it as their duty will go with a full salvo, barrage of verbal ammunition against those people. And they've taken it further now that a professor of economics and a social critic, actually, formerly a politician, I don't know if he is still, was a former presidential candidate for the ADC, came out a few weeks ago and said, Nigeria needs quality opposition and his shadow government. So he talked about how he's moving around, organizing people of like minds to provide, alternative opposition. If the major parties in Nigeria will not do that, individuals can do that. I called it a shadow government under the Big Tent movement. There is an organization of his called the Big Tent movement, made up of like minds as well, appointing people across the country that they will critique, they will analyze the policies of the government and then provide, suggestions and ideas where necessary, because everybody cannot just be, cowing towards the center, especially with the gale of defections we have been seeing across the parties moving towards the APC and the center. Even some persons in their party are supporting the president as well. And he says this is not good for democracy. Everybody cannot just be, taking it in hook, line, and sinker. So hence the creation or the formation of that shadow government, or that the Big Tent movement. But the DSS, Environmental Service in Nigeria, are not having that. And they have sued him to say this cannot be. Now, in a fresh application, the DSS filed on Wednesday through his team of lawyers, led by Mr. Akinlolu Kende, SAN, DSS told the court that it got an intelligence that the defendant, Utomi, who is currently outside the country, has concluded plans to return on June 6 to engage in protest, roadshows, and media interviews. It argued that the planned activities were aimed to instigate citizens in furtherance of the defendant's bid to establish an illegitimate government, an issue that is the subject matter of a suit that is pending before the court. So consequently, they prayed the court for an order of interlocutory injunction restraining the defendant and respondent, that's Paul Utomi, his agent, privies, associates, servants, workers, or any person acting through him from staging road shows, rallies, public lectures, or any form of public gathering, newspaper publications, television programs, jingles, and it goes on and on. Those promoting the purported shadow government, shadow cabinet, or its objective or goals with the view to establishing the said shadow government pending the hearing and determination of the substantive suit. So that case is on right now, and it has been, brought before the court again yesterday, Wednesday. We have with us somebody who knows. He is a lawyer, has practiced for so many years, and he even teaches law, a law lecturer, Dr. Misbah Latif. It's good to see you again, Doctor. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now, for the purpose of education, for the purpose of proper information, and firstly, as a patriotic Nigerian with a background, and a profession in law, some persons are beginning to worry. What is the place of DSS in suing, somebody with that kind of intention? And number two, what is the Tinubu government afraid of? Let's start from there. And is a shadow government illegal by our laws?
Well, generally speaking, I would say I will classify the DSS approach to this thing into two, and I will then state my reaction, to the two of them.
Right.
So in the first instance, when the DSS came out, I think some weeks back, I don't know if it's up to a month or thereabouts now, my initial reaction was that this was an unnecessary reaction by the DSS. I thought it was an overkill. I thought the call for a shadow government was actually harmless, and I still think it's harmless. And I will come to that shortly. So basically, for me, in the first instance, I don't think it was appropriate that the DSS, approach this matter in the case they did. And I did express, the view somewhere that what they ought to have done, in my own view, was to have invited Professor Pat Utomi, and have a chat with him to really understand what the shadow government is all about. So in the first instance, I think the DSS over-dramatized the call for a shadow government. Now, having clarified that, a shadow government is just, for me, a term that is more amenable to a parliamentary system of government, like we have in the UK here, and it simply means an alternative government. An alternative government that is more about symbol or symbolical government than what you call an actual or de facto government, in a society. So to that extent, I naturally think calling for a shadow government is just maybe an advanced way of calling for an opposition to rise up to their responsibility in a democracy, and which is to put the government in power on their feet, by putting forward, critical, I would say alternative to government policy and all of that. And I think looking at it from that context, the context of the opposition in Nigeria having failed, and then some people are putting themselves together, regardless of whether they are politicians or not. And I think Professor Pat Utomi is actually a politician. He's not just a social critic or analyst. He is also a politician, going by his antecedent and where he has identified himself, in the past couple of years. But that is actually not a problem. So, but that regardless, I do not generally think the idea of a shadow government should warrant all of this reaction from the DSA. And I think they are over-dramatizing. I think, or maybe they have over-dramatized initially. But now, going by what you said happened 2 days ago, and I'm hearing this for the first time, I've not actually followed the story, and according to your forward, where you said that the DSS actually claimed before the court that they had an intelligence which suggests, a few things. Well, now, on the second hand, if it is true that the DSS, is in possession of some intelligence, well, it is also within the right of the DSS to actually act on intelligence. But even at that, Professor Pat Utomi is I would say, a well-respected member of the society, a statesman, if you like, and I would have expected the DSS to have still accorded him an invite, to have some chat with him, rather than going this way of approaching a court. And so, generally speaking, therefore, I think the approach of the DSS is not exactly, I think, appropriate. And I think they should have attended to the matter in a more, I would say, in a more reasonable way, which, as I said, is just inviting him, have a chat with him, and if there's something very serious, then they could attend to it, as they have been empowered by law. Because Professor Patu told me does not have an antecedent of violence, and despite his political differences or whatever it is, I don't think it's someone you want to qualify as being capable of subversive, I would say, activities to undermine a government in a manner that is not consistent with the Constitution. So if all that they plan to do is to organize a peaceful protest, is to run jingles on radio or TV, or to even hit the streets and do it peacefully, draw attention to whatever they want to draw attention to, I think all of those will be within the confine of the Constitution of Nigeria, particularly Chapter 4 on fundamental human rights. But then I must also clarify that fundamental human rights are not absolute, not even the biggest of them, which is right to life. In other words, there are also limits to the exercise of this right. So the duty of DSS to, I would say, secure law and order, therefore begins from where a citizen's right to protest, to freedom of association and all of that ends. So where a citizen transgresses beyond mere peaceful expression of dissatisfaction with the government policy or whatever, or even they go on the street to protest and all of that, where they transgress, those boundaries, then the DSS and of course the police are empowered by law. And I would say that there is nothing, in our law that bars the DSS from approaching the court. If you recall the popular case of Ojukwu and DSS, the late Emeka Ojukwu, that's one of the popular, cases in Nigerian legal jurisprudence about the power of the DSS. That was a case where the DSS actually took late Ojukwu to court. So the DSS does have power under the law of Nigeria to approach the court for anything. But at this time, as I have said, I think this is an unnecessary over-dramatization of, I think, a simple matter. Calling for a shadow government for someone without an antecedent of violence is more or less like somebody, as I've said, putting up himself as an opposition element, which, Professor Utomi actually is, and then trying to assert their right as an opposition members, opposition people or person,
all right,
in the government of the day. So, yeah.
All right, Dr. Lateef, like you said it's an over-dramatization rather by the DSS. But apart from that, one of the reasons why Professor Patu Tomi actually came up with this idea of shadow governments is the fact that he has accused, and not just he alone, a lot of Nigerians, well, many Nigerians have accused the current administration of authoritarianism, and that is actually why he came up with that idea. Now, judging by the actions of the DSS, don't you think they're actually justifying that claim of being of this administration being authoritarian? Of course, the DSS is a tool of the government. Are they not, their actions not justifying the fact that they are being authoritarian and stifling opposition in the country, in Nigeria? Because Dr. Lateef, right now there is a substantive suit on that matter slated for hearing on the 25th of June. So we have a substantive suit already. Why would the DSS ambush the courts again at this time, just yesterday, seeking an order of interlocutory injunction to restrain Patu Tomi from speaking about it, from holding public lectures, from gathering people, from granting television and radio interviews? Why are they doing this at this time? Just because they claim they have intelligence report. This same DSS, there are a lot of Nigerians are saying, oh, you are not doing your job in areas where there are crises in Nigeria. Benue State, for instance, Plateau State, for instance, where terrorists and bandits are killing people. Why is their intelligence failing in all those places? All of a sudden, the DSS is very proactive now, getting intelligence reports claiming that national security will be affected if Patutomi goes ahead with this shadow government. Don't you think they are simply justifying the same reasons why Patutomi decided to come up with this idea of shadow government in Nigeria?
All right, to start with, let me say that I disagree very strongly with the people, including Professor Patutomi, who described the government as authoritarian. And I think that's an unfortunate, just to be mild, abuse of words. And people should get themselves well informed about what an authoritarian, system or society is. I have had the privilege, and I still have the privilege of living in different parts of the world, and particularly in the West. And that's something I normally say, and I'm going to say it on your TV this morning. Nigerians are probably the people who enjoy fundamental human rights more all over the world, from my personal experience, than I've ever seen anywhere. The kind of fundamental human rights, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, that Nigerians enjoy in Nigeria, I have not seen it in the UK, where I live now. I have not seen it in the US, where I lived for over a year. I didn't see it in Canada. Okay? So my point basically is that to describe a government as authoritarian, you are simply saying, for example, that people do not have the right to do what you are doing now, right in your studio. To say that people do not have the right to do many things that they do on Twitter, on X, on Facebook. Nigerians generally exercise their freedom. There might be...
Dr. Lateef, sorry to cut in. You're saying Nigerians are enjoying their freedom more than any country. A lot of Nigerians will strongly disagree with you. You talk about social media.
You asked me a question. I want you allow me to answer. You've asked a question and quite a number of them. Yes, I agree with you. People, of course, people are at liberty to disagree with me. I don't have a problem with that. And the fact that
I was just trying to give you some facts that the government right now is systematically trying to, bring that down. Talking about social media, you can't just post anything again. There are complaints about the Cybercrime Act, how the government has been using it to actually censor dissenting voices in Nigeria. So there's a limit to what you can really say on social media. They'll come after you. We've had cases here in Nigeria where people come out to speak against government, and before you know it, they are being hounded by security agencies. So I wonder why you say Nigeria is a place where citizens enjoy more freedom than anywhere in the world. That's the fact I just wanted to point out.
Well, that's actually, this is my opinion, and I guess you allow me, the right to actually exercise
absolutely.
that.
Please go ahead.
And I want to emphasize that the kind of human rights, and rightly so, that Nigerians enjoy, you can only enjoy it anywhere in abroad. Okay? I'm on X, I'm on Facebook, and I know how people freely express themselves. Well, I'm not aware of any particular case, and I'm saying that again with all sense of responsibility, where anyone has been arrested or detained or even taken to court without a reason, and I would say legitimate reasons. Many people say a lot of things and get away with them. There are many people, even Professor Patutomi himself, he has said a lot of things before leaving Nigeria, and many prominent Nigerians like that. And I think it is within their right to say those things. So you don't describe the government, in my view, as authoritarian when you have a right, as I said earlier, to do what I'm doing right now on your studio. People in your studio rather, or you are even your TV, you are doing all of these things. People do everything. I mean, people do all of this thing every day. So for me, really, so the fact that some people have been arrested or detained, these are isolated cases, and they should be treated as such. So the idea of generalizing a particular situation or occasion and then to say Nigeria is an authoritarian state or the presidency or government, I totally disagree with that. And I think many people actually tend to abuse their freedom of expression. They think freedom of expression, is tantamount to saying whatever they like, doing whatever they like, and getting away with it. People literally in Nigeria, insult policemen, assault them. You can't do that away in America, for example, and get away with it. You can't do it here in the UK. You can't do it elsewhere. But having said that, and I will not want that to becloud, the objective, of this conversation, I think what the DSS has done in going to courts, okay, even though I've described it as over-dramatization and unnecessary, there is nothing totalitarian about it. You don't accuse a government that has deployed the due process of law. Going to court is a due process of law. If they had arrested him, if they had arrested him without taking him to court, if they had detained him, then you could be talking of authoritarianism. They have simply gone to court, which is a due process of law. That is not an example of being authoritarian. So I disagree with people who throw that blanket of authoritarianism. And I think Nigerians enjoy as much freedom of expression as many people do around the world. That's my opinion.
But Dr. Lateef, again, you said you believe Nigerians enjoy freedom. We are looking at this case of shadow government. You have said it, that there is nothing wrong in Patutomi, suggesting or having the idea of bringing forth a shadow government. You said there is nothing wrong in it. So why then is the DSS hell-bent on stopping him? Like I said when I started asking the question, the DSS is a tool of government. So a lot of people will see it as government, the government of this administration, using its tool to restrain people from speaking up. That's exactly my point. So are you not seeing it from that angle?
No, I'm not saying it the way you are saying it, and I would like to clarify myself again. You see, it is one thing when I say that I do not disagree, I do not agree with DSS, and I sincerely think Professor Patutomi has not crossed the line. Now, that is one thing. Now, the DSS going to court based on whatever intelligence they have or based on whatever they think is also another right or a process of exploring the due process of law. So going to court cannot be characterized. If they are taking him to a criminal court now, arraigning him for expressing himself, perhaps my opinion will be different. But this is taking him to a civil court. So going to court to seek a court order, it is, let us leave it to the court. The court can then examine whatever evidence the DSS has. And when you said earlier that they are trying to waylay, or I think you used a language, well, I don't think that's what the DSS has done.
All right.
That you have gone to court in the first instance and approached the same court a subsequent time to reinforce your prayers or order does not mean that you are waylaying or ambushing the court. I don't see it as such. But as I said again, I do not think all of this is necessary.
All right,
but that is my personal opinion. Right. It does not really mean that the DSS does not have a reason that they may want to disclose to the court. But I think it's unnecessary.
All right, and we are being joined by another guest on the program. Please stay with us, Dr. Misbao. We are being joined by Comrade Dayo Ologun. He is a civil rights activist. Comrade, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right, quickly, it's about the shadow government, conversation and the obvious seeming ban, that many people are envisaging. And the DSS has gone to court yesterday. They returned to court again to get interlocutory injunction that, the court should restrain Patutomi, his agent, privates, associate, servant, workers, or any person acting through him from staging road shows, rallies, public lectures, television programs, jingles, enlightenment, everything, because they feel it, according to them, it's of stage national security, cause problem, cause unrest, civil disturbance, and all of those things. But the same DSS yesterday, through their legal, the lead counsel, senior advocate of Nigeria, Akinlolu Kehinde, said that they filing a fresh application before the court and seeking interlocutory injunction to restrain Prof. Utomi, they are not, against the rule of law. And in fact, they said they respect the rule of law and has voluntarily submitted the matter to the court for constitutional interpretation. And what he said is our client is not interested in arresting anybody on this matter. The DSS is a civilized organization that believes in the rule of law, that what they are saying in the suit is in line with the mandate to maintain internal peace and prevent any act that could amount to insurrection and treason against the democratically elected government. So, comrade, because we are short of time, we are going to do this very quickly. And don't you see this as DSS appropriating and reappropriating at the same time? Your thoughts?
Well, for me, there are three issues that we need to quickly address in this matter of shadow government or no shadow government. First and foremost, I think we should, to a little extent, give some kudos to the DSS for at least for once understanding that we are in a democratic dispensation and things cannot be done awkwardly. Between you and I, maybe this is just jokingly, maybe it is because it is a patotomy. I'm sure if it were some other persons by now, the DSS will have stormed such a person's house or office to arrest and even keep away from public access such a person. And because of a patotomy, they have chosen the path of the rule of law. And I think we should give kudos to them because that is very uncharacteristic of the DSS. The DSS that you and I have known over the time has been one that abuses the rule of law, arrest arbitrarily and detain arbitrarily. So if they are throwing this part, I think they are beginning to understand that things cannot continue to be done the same way that they have been used to doing it. Now we are in a civilized society and it should be so. That's number one. Number two, I also hope that the court that the DSS has approached will do the needful by ensuring that no individual's right is trampled upon. The right to protest, the right for a road show, the right for appearance on television or radio is such that is guaranteed by the grand norm of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that is the Constitution. So for anybody to expect that the court will take away such rights from an individual is left to the court once again to prove that they are not against the rule of law and they are not against the freedom of speech, the freedom of association of an individual. So to speak to what the judgment of the court would be, since the DSS has approached the court, for me would be jumping the gun. So let's wait and see if again the court will enforce the rights of an individual as ordinarily guaranteed by the provision of the Constitution. But talking about the shadow government in itself, let's be clear. Shadow government is a practice within the democratic tenet across all the countries of the world. Maybe, this is my opinion, the only issue I have is the fact that it is coming from an individual. If you take a study through how shadow government is being formed across other nations of the world, shadow government is such that it is formed by opposition political parties. And such is done in such a way that they begin to throw out what they would have done if they had been in government, or what the government is doing wrongly that they will have done rightly. So it is out of the common norm to see an individual, irrespective of the stature, like a part told me, to come up with a pseudo government or what you call a shadow government. I think that's what the federal government is having an issue. Perhaps this is becoming a tool and not necessarily the grand norm or the acceptable norm across the tenet of democracy in the world.
All right, Comrade Ologun, you are a human rights activist. Thankfully, I'm glad you're with us on the show today. Do you agree, according to what Barrister Lateef said, Dr. Lateef said, do you agree that Nigerians are actually enjoying, your rights to freedom? How do you see human rights in Nigeria generally? Because Dr. Lateef said that all over the world that Nigeria is one place where human rights is being observed and Nigerians have freedom, total freedom, that there is no infringement on human rights in Nigeria. That is an opinion. You're a human rights activist living in Nigeria. How do you respond to that?
I don't like quoting. I didn't say there are no infringements, and I would like to please clarify that.
No, he said all over the world that Nigeria is one place where, freedom, where Nigerians enjoy freedom.
But I didn't say there are no infringements. These are two things. So let us get it right. It is something to say that Nigerians enjoy their rights, to a very good extent, like every other citizens of the world. And then you can also say on the other hand that there are issues of infringement.
No, you said you said you've been to different countries that you've not seen anywhere they enjoy human rights like Nigeria. That's what you said.
Yes, I said that, but I didn't say that.
I'd like human rights activists to react to that. Comrade Ologun, please, I'd like you to react to that.
I understand the concept of the opinion of Dr. Lateef. Number one, he lives outside the shores of this country. Maybe Dr. Lateef is confusing two things. access to human rights, and access to freedom to enjoy. Look, an average Nigerian living in the UK, in the US, understand that when they come home, Nigeria is one place where you can spend money to enjoy yourself. You can move from one place to the other without infringement. You can have little money to have a maximum pleasure. Maybe it is from that concept that Dr. Lateef is looking at it. But as a civil rights activist, I can tell you it's simple. It's something that can be Google searched. Just go to the human rights platform, or what you call, I've forgotten the name we call it now. Then you go and read what rating Nigeria has when it comes to access to justice and fulfillment or upholding human rights. Nigeria is worse off when it comes to abuse of human rights. I doubt if we can have more than 22%. I think the last time I checked, we're on 26. That if it has not declined on the human rights scale or adherence to freedom of a citizen. Nigeria is a country where you get arrested for walking on the road at a particular hour of the night. Police will tell you it is raiding. I've lost count of how many cases I've handled in the last 1 year of people that have committed no offense in particular. Their offense is that they are found at a particular place at a particular time, and they are being raided and they are in prison. In a same climb, that will not happen, because once you are stopped at a particular hour, all you need is an identification. Once you're able to identify yourself and there's nothing incriminating found on you, you are free to go. But go to prisons, you will find out tens and thousands of Nigerians across all the correctional centers that have committed no crime other than they are found where criminals were raided at a particular time. Nigeria is a country where you cannot even do ordinary. Imagine the DSS asking the court to stop a party and anybody working with him or anybody in his household from granting press conference or from holding a rally. Who does that? When does it become the duty of the DSS to stop television stations from wanting to interview or speak to an individual?
They said it's based on intelligence.
I bet you, I can tell you practically that Nigeria is worse off among the Committee of Nations when it comes to upholding the rights of citizens.
Oh, thank you. Because I was wondering where Dr. Lateef got. Maybe because Dr. Lateef, is not living in Nigeria.
Well, because of time.
When he said Nigeria is actually better off. So
well, I hope you'll not be thinking to form my opinion for the eye of this. I have merely expressed my opinion, and I don't think you really want to be forming one for me.
No. Okay? Dr. Lateef, please hold on. Please hold on.
I only reiterated what you said, that Nigeria is one, that you've been to different countries in the world, that Nigeria is better off.
And I really want, despite what the comrade said, and I really want to insist on that. Nigerians do enjoy freedom of expression, association, and all of that, like every other citizen in the world. That's my experience.
Gentlemen, I understand, but for the two of you, unfortunately, we don't have enough time. We only have like 3 minutes or so by your schedule. So I would like us to be, one of these days that we have enough time, we will discuss all of this. But I'll take one question each from my end here. Let me start with Mr. Ologun. It's just because of the exigency of your time. Mr. Ologun, do you think, in clear conscience now, do you think the Tinubu'S government is averse to criticism and, voice of dissent, or it just has, handlers that are overzealous? In a minute.
Well, in fairness, judging by the background and the disposition of the president, the word averse, Tinubu's presidency is not averse to criticism and voice of dissent. The Tinubu administration has only found a way of subtly coercing voice of dissent. And I think I've said this again and again on this program. Tinubu administration is the one that will allow you to express your opinion and feeling, but go through the back door to coerce you in believing what they want you to believe, and even if possible, force you to become a praise singer. We've lost count of the so-called comrades now, who were once on the side of the people who are now praising the government, from Tijani, who is now a minister, to Erenu Omokri and the rest of them. So the presidency is not averse, particularly using that word, to criticism of voice of dissent. But they have found a way, maybe by experience, in subtly coercing voices of to becoming vuvuzelas.
Yeah. Dr. Misbah, the same question for you, because sometimes you will see that some of these principles, maybe it's not their thing, or sometimes you want to say maybe they just have overzealous handlers and supporters. In this case, the DSS, they are not supposed to be speaking for the president. They are supposed to be an intelligence organization. So what's their own in all of this? Is it Tinubu presidency thing, or it's just somebody or an institution being overzealous? To voices of dissent.
Well, I think I agree with Comrade Ayodeji only to the extent that this is a government that is not averse to, criticism, opposition, and all of that. And I don't think any government since 1999 and now has been attacked and even vilified as much as this government has, been attacked. However, I do agree that perhaps there are some overzealous, public officials, sometimes in the police and sometimes in the DSS, who tend to overreach themselves. And this is why I've said earlier that this current approach of the DSS is actually unnecessary. I do not think there is anything harmful about shadow government, and I don't think we need all of this
drama. If the president doesn't agree with it, can he rein them in, rein his handlers in, rein the DSS in, and say, guys, stop it? He has the right to.
Well, I don't, we are just expressing our own opinion.
Yes,
we don't really know how the government sees this. And the DSS, as I said earlier, despite what we have said about the DSS, you cannot take away their right to determine what do I call it, intelligence, they receive and how they process them. These are matters of the state that are actually beyond some of us. And that is the truth.
All right, Dr. Misbah, just yesterday, the presidency said they are open to alternative solutions, to suggestions. That's what they said just yesterday. And that's yesterday, the DSS approached the court seeking an order of interlocutory injunction to restrain someone who intends to do just that. Okay, someone who said he just wants to.
I think you are also over dramatizing what the DSS has done.
Dr. Latif,
going to court again is consistent with due process of law.
Dr. Latif,
you might. Yes.
Dr. Latif, please let me land. Here's what I'm saying: that the presidency said they are open to alternative solutions, and I'm saying Professor Patusomi has said over and over again that that is just what he wants to do, to proffer alternative solutions. So my question is, don't you see the administration as speaking from both sides of the mouth? If you're saying
I don't see it as so. You see, being open to opposition or whatever and enforcing the law as other arms of government or agencies of government might deem fit are not mutually exclusive. The two of them can go together. Yes, that a government is open to opposition or criticism does not mean that they will not enforce the law if an institution of government deems it fit. And that is the point. So I don't think we should really be over dramatizing this. If we have said the DSS should have probably invited Professor Utomi for a chat instead of doing all of this drama, and I don't think we should also be over dramatizing this by saying there is anything wrong.
I'm afraid you do not get my question. I'm afraid you are not understanding my question. Okay? The question is simple. If a government is saying that they are open to, alternative solutions, and you have someone in layman's language, you have someone who's saying, okay, I want to proffer alternative solution. Why is the same government allowing its agency to restrain that person, to go to court, trying to restrain? My colleague just mentioned that. Can the government say, hey, DSS, hold on. Patutomi is just trying to proffer solutions, alternative solutions. Just let him do his job. That's my point.
Your question is very clear to me. And I think the issue here is your own, attempts to make sure I say what you want to hear. And unfortunately, you can't force me to do that, okay? So what I'm telling you is that if a government says we are open to opposition, okay, and then an instrument of government, on the other hand, feels someone is saying something that might undermine the rule of law, which is something within their power to do, that does not necessarily mean that the government is not open to opposition. So I'm saying these two things are not mutually exclusive. They can go together. I can say you are welcome to my house. That does not mean that when you approach my door and I sense that something is amiss, I cannot turn you back, or I cannot frisk you or check your bag. Saying you are welcome to my house does not mean that I can't really be at alert to check your bag or to frisk you, as I've said. So basically for me, I think, you see, this is what I think, and I don't think you want to force me to say what you want to hear.
Not at all.
Okay?
All right. And, as a part in short, Sam, so onus is on the court now to do the needful. Do you, because there are issues around jurisprudence in Nigeria, the issue with the judiciary and all of those things, do you trust the court in 30 seconds to do the needful and uphold the right of Nigerians while, still upholding national security?
Well, as a lawyer, and my job is in the court, I have utmost confidence in the Nigerian judiciary. And this is notwithstanding that there are challenges. You know, we have corruption everywhere in Nigeria, including the judiciary. But I'm saying despite these challenges, I have confidence in the court to do the right thing.
Thank you. Is Comrade Logan still with us? Just in a minute. Comrade Logan, are you still with us? Okay, I'm afraid.
Yes, I'm with you.
I just wanted to...
He's with us.
Okay, Comrade Logan, if you're still... Just a parting shot from you. Dr. Lateef has said that both can actually go hand in hand, the government being open to criticism and still, you know, doing their job. But just in 1 minute, how would you summarize the current situation, talking about the freedom of the average Nigerian? Like you said, this is a patitomy. Had it been it's not patitomy, perhaps the DSS might have arrested them, like you said. But according to you, how do you summarize this whole situation in terms of human rights, looking at it from human rights angle?
Well, I will reiterate again that even though it's hard, but I give a little bit of kudos to the DSS for playing the part of democratic tenets by not arbitrarily arresting someone that they believe has a voice of dissent, by approaching the court for proper interpretation and asking the court to do what they think is right. So the onus is on the court to otherwise uphold what they believe in their own opinion to be a protection of state apparatus through security, or the court to do the needful by ensuring that what the Constitution guarantees for an individual is upheld. I think it would be premature to assume where this where this pendulum will eventually swing. But I want to sincerely believe, like Dr. Lateef said, I want to believe and hold confidence in the court that they would uphold the belief and the provision of the Constitution, which guarantees freedom of association and freedom of speech.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Comrade Ayologo, thank you. It's good to see you again. It's been a while. I will wish you well.
It's been a while.
All right. I was almost saying comrade. Maybe he's a comrade by disposition as well. Dr. Misbah Lateef, I guess you're a comrade yourself.
No, he's not. He's not.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. My pleasure. Have a good day.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We wish you, gentlemen, all the best. And, you know, it's about this nation.
Absolutely.
And, you know, everybody voice and voices should count, actually, because that's what makes it.
I really like Dr. Lateef's, you know, optimism, his belief. He is someone who loves Nigeria. Okay, I was just trying to set the facts straight, not necessarily trying to force you to say what you don't want to say. No, because talking about human rights, because if you say that, that's all over the world. That Nigeria is one of the countries where citizens enjoy human rights better than other places. They might attack in Nigeria for saying that.
That's what makes it beautiful. Diverse opinions.
That's why he wanted the human rights professional. Actually.
Yeah.
And he said it. He gave us the figures. That it's about 20-something%. We still rank. The fact is, and we are journalists. You have to speak truth to the fact. We still rank very low when it comes to human rights.
Right. But
Freedom
then,
of human rights.
yeah, the rights which must be protected at all costs. The right comes with privileges and it comes with responsibilities as well. But trust us, that's why we have different opinions of different people, seeing things from different ways. And that's the joy of, even in the main democracy that we are practicing, or the pseudo, some call it the quasi-democracy, or the type, you know, you remember Prince Dinodemi said, the type of democracy we run here is a peculiar one to us. It's not the conventional one that you are taught in schools and the one you see in all over the places. By the way, talking about what the government is doing, and talking about where we were 2 years ago and where we are right now, and the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, there is a school of thought in which, or school of thought that many persons believe is doing well. Some believe he's not doing well. Some believe we can do more. But then we spoke to an elder, you know, who spoke on these issues. We allow you to see it again, you know, to have a hang of what, especially Afeni Ferry, social, you know, they have said they are not just a Yoruba organization, but, you know, they speak for the interest of everyone, especially those at this part of the world. The leader, Oba Olaitan, we hosted him here and he spoke on a range of issues. We allow you to see that. But for now, after that, we'll see you tomorrow. Femi Ojo is my name. God bless Nigeria. Daniel?
And thank you for joining us once again. Don't forget to join us for a fresh edition of Morning Spring on Western Spring Television tomorrow. Emeka Daniel is my name. Do have a wonderful day.
And of course, Barka de Salah in advance. So you know, you said it the other time. This is the part where the big Salah where rams are killed.
Rams are killed.
No excuse for Rahman and Lukman and every man in this house.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you.
I identify with you, so don't think I wasn't interested.
No escape at this time around now. All right, take a look. We'll be back tomorrow.